signed up, who wants to speak tonight? Would you like to sign up? I'm sorry.
Jack, it's gotta be in blood. What's that? It's gotta be in blood. In blood, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock, January 18th, 2024. I'm here to call this meeting to order for the Columbus Utility Commission. Could you please take a roll call for us, Michelle?
Joan?
Here.
Rule?
Here.
Andler?
Here.
Beckman?
Here.
Curtis?
Here.
Excused, Hammer? And
All right, we do have a quorum. This meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. Up next, then, is to approve the agenda. Unless there's any alterations or deletions, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Move on to number 5, which is visitors' comments and utility communications. I did put out a sign-up sheet, and we have a couple names written down here. If you could please keep your comments to approximately 3 minutes, that'd be appreciated. Up first, we had Dr. Andrew Neltham. Yes, if you could just, if the microphone is on, just state your name and your address, if you could, please.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Andrew Notham. I'm a dentist at Columbus Family Dental. I wasn't able to make the last meeting, but I did get caught up a little bit on what was talked about. I don't want to summarize too much on what some of my partners have said, but I'm a strong proponent in community water fluoridation. I think it's one of the most successful public health initiatives of the last 75 years. I know for the last 75 years it's gone pretty well up until recently, where there's been a push for a variety of reasons, and that's something that I'd be open to talking more about. And it's hard to cover those concerns in 3 minutes, but I have a substantial amount of literature out to discuss the concerns, be it fluorosis or different other problems that are starting to rise on the internet. I just wanted you to know that I'm a resource for that. I have a background, a bachelor's in neuroscience from Marquette, and I'm a dentist, and obviously have a strong community ties for the last 10 years. And I think that when people bring concerns over something like fluoride, I think that they shouldn't be diminished. They should be talked about and discussed, and so I would encourage open dialogue and discussion where people are concerned, because I think there's a lot of good science out there to talk about. So, thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Dr. Martin Jasek, is it?
Sure is. So, hello,
Hi.
I'm Dr. Martin Jasek. I work with Dr. Andrew at Columbus Family Dental. I've been a dentist for almost 10 years. I've been in town for 7. Here again to support community water fluoridation. One of the big scientific achievements of the 20th century was adding fluoride to water to help children and adults with cavities. Getting less, like Andrew said, there's lots of studies out there, lots of data about how much it saves the community, how much it benefits adults, and most importantly, children. The people that benefit the most from fluoride in the water are people that are still forming teeth. That fluoride gets incorporated into those teeth, makes them more resistant to cavities. So we see less toothaches and problems in young kids, which are by far the worst visits that we have. An adult that doesn't take care of their teeth and come in, at least they're making a choice. But a kid that is coming in pain because they're not eating a good diet, and there is something that the community could do to help them prevent the amount of cavities they do. That's something I feel strongly for. Again, like Dr. Andrew said, I'm open to discussion and answering questions and having more of a back and forth versus just talking. I don't know exactly what you guys want to hear. I came last time and had said some things. I know there was concerns about the storage of the fluoride in the municipal buildings, and there are other options, tablet forms and things that I know are out there that I'd be happy to help you guys potentially explore going forward. So, thank you for having us.
And we have Jack Sanderson signed up. Jack, state your name and address.
Thank you. My name is Jack Sanderson. I just distributed basically a cheat sheet on a draft report from the National Toxicology Program, which is the Department of Health and Social Services. It's part of the federal government. This study, which took a review of all the scientific studies out there of recent, was concluded actually 3 or 4 years ago, and they've dragging out the final draft, I suspect for political reasons, but let's just quickly go through it. According to Part 9, I got this from the Epic Times, and Part 9 focuses on this draft monograph of the state science of concerning fluoride and neurodevelopment in drinking water. The National Toxicology Program went over 500 studies of fluoride exposure. The more fluoride children are exposed to, the lower their IQ. The estimated drop is based upon a range of studies is approximately 7 IQ points. Till stress that just 5-point decrease in the population's IQ would increase the number of intellectually disabled to like 9.5 million from 6 million. So 7 points makes a big difference. Or the number of people considered gifted would drop from 2.4 million from 6 million. So from 6 million to 2.4 if the population drops 7 points of IQ, or 5. Another concerning finding of the review is that there's no obvious safe threshold, threshold for fluoride, and pregnant women and children in the U.S. are within the range of human studies have found reduced IQ. On the back, I identified the 10 parts of a 10-part series written by the Epic Times. I don't know if it's hidden behind a paywall or not. If you want to get into the series, contact me, and I can access, I have a subscription, I can access it and send you whatever part you want. There's a lot of information out there. You can go to Children's Health Defense Org and find another 80 articles by searching fluoride in drinking water, and find a whole lot more articles. And if I kept searching, I could find a bunch. Last month, I gave you a bunch of personal commentary and opinions from professional folks and laymen as well. With the quantity alone ought to cause us to reconsider whether or not the original science, like 50 or 60 years ago, was right. I posted a chat piece on Columbus Chatter, and somebody made the claim that the folks in Europe do not fluoridate their water. And they have just as many, no more and less cavities than the kids here in America, where we do have fluoridated water. So now, they didn't source and qualify that comment, but he sounded like he knew what he was talking about. So that's my comment, and there's a lot of information out there. If you want more, I can find more. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. 1 second. You came in late. Did you wish to speak under? Okay. Sure.
So, thank you. I'll try to be quick. So, I actually looked up the NTP monograph. It's Jack's right. It's a fascinating piece. It's actually, there's a lot of stuff about it right now, and I have a couple handouts in response to this NTP. But it's basically, I think he said about 6 years ago it came out, or that the early drafts came out, and it's been highly debated upon, and that's why a lot of people think it hasn't officially dropped. They just had it in this May. They had another meeting. They've had 3 different auditors come and audit things in this finding. I think it's over 150 pages. So real quick, to summarize, the study was done in populations with fluoride at 1.5 milligrams per liter or higher. So there was no actual studies in this 150-page study that show that it's actually meant to look at community water fluoridation as it is in the United States. Community water fluoridation in the United States recommended by the CDC is 0.7 milligrams per liter. So this study does not exactly study what community water fluoridation is doing, and so it's double the amount of recommended fluoride. Should we look into this more? Sure, yeah, absolutely. I think they are looking into it right now. But according to every healthcare organization, I have a handout that I got forwarded from the WDA, different things to address these concerns, because obviously when someone starts saying kids, IQs, this and that triggers a concern. It triggers a concern for me. I mean, so there's a lot of stuff in discussing this that I think shows that this is not a definitive thing. I'm rambling, I'm sorry. But the evidence on this NTP thing does not give any substantial proof, actually really no definitive proof that it affects IQ, and it has zero evidence to show it that it affects IQ in what we're doing in 0.7. So that's what I have for now. I mean, I'm not a toxicologist. This is a very complicated study, but that's the evidence a brief summary of what is going on there, in my opinion. So, thank you. I'll give you these. You want me to forward them, the handouts, or should I?
You have one for each one of us?
I don't have one for everybody. I just brought them along.
Okay.
I mean, what would be better for you guys?
If you have one, we could just pass it down maybe to look at it.
Oh, and the fluoride in Europe thing. So in Europe, they actually do add fluoride to food, and so they don't fluoridate their water because there's additives like we add iodine to salt. You can look up on the internet. They add fluoride to different foods in Europe. So that's as a side note to that. Here's that one. Here's some messages in regards to
Not now, but when we're talking. All right, was there anyone else that didn't have a chance to sign up that wished to speak under citizen comment? All right, seeing none then, we have to move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have the approval of the minutes of December 20th commission meeting, the outage report, and the financial reports, which include the water and light cash disbursements report and accounts payable report. Are there any questions on any items on the consent agenda? If there are no questions, I'll take a motion to approve as presented.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please, we need a roll call on that. Thank you, Michelle.
Lambler,
Aye.
Rule,
Aye.
Curtis,
Aye.
Tome,
Aye.
Beckman,
aye.
motion carries.
All right, thank you. Now we move on to unfinished business, which is the water fluoride treatment discussion. I don't remember when this was first put on the agenda, but I think it was October. Yeah. September? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been a few months. The commission did request some water pulls to look at, which we received in our packet here. And we did try to table this discussion for a month further so we could have people here to attend the meeting. There's probably a lot to discuss here. Normally, a meeting is not participatory. That's why we have the citizen comment at the front. But if the commissioners do want to ask questions, I'm okay with that. I would just ask that if someone is going to respond from the audience, that you would come up to the podium and speak into that so anybody that's watching at home can hear what you're saying. Otherwise, they can't hear half the conversation. So, all right. Did you want to ask a question?
I have a question. Can we go back to what originally prompted this to become an agenda and discussion item?
Jake can answer that.
Because it's been so long, I thought let's refresh everybody's memory as to what prompted.
Yeah, absolutely. So I brought it up in September, early October. just based on our high residuals on our natural occurring water when we pull it out of the ground. And you can see the data for those couple months that we did. And then also, since we are having an influx of influent fluoride, we have our pumps turned all the way down, which now we need to buy smaller pumps so they're pumping more accurately. And then obviously going forward, any new projects at the water plants, the DNR is going to require separate chemical rooms. And at plant 2, it's going to be expensive. In plant 1, it's going to be very much more expensive just based on the location of them and building rooms inside of the water plants already. So it's basically just trying to maybe get ahead of it so we wouldn't have those costs coming in the future years. But that was really the only real reason. It's not much of a cost savings for the utility just because I think I figured out it was like $250 a year of adding it. So it's nothing like a cost savings or anything. It was more of thinking for the future, and then with the influent fluoride levels creeping up, and some days it's at 0.06, which is, or 0.6 milligrams per liter, which is within the range of the Wisconsin DNR of what they require you to add it between 0.6 and 0.8. So that's why I brought it up. Didn't mean to stir anything. It was just a concern, and going forward, if we do obviously continue it, we'll just have to order new pumps, which are about $1,200 each. So we'll order 2 of them, one for plant 1 and for plant 2. So.
Can I add to what, so Jake and I have been talking about this as he's been monitoring the levels. You talk about that safe range. Oh, I thought I turned it on, I'm sorry. We talked about, the recommended range they want it to be. It's very difficult for us to do that because the pump can't monitor what's coming in through the water. So it's what?
We check in the mornings, obviously,
check
and then
daily, and as you know, that could fluctuate. As you can see how it fluctuates, and the pump is set once a day unless somebody's monitoring it 24/7. We can't guarantee that range that is recommended. I just wanted to make you aware of that.
My question is, back when you were on, Jack, this is how many, 4 or 5 years ago? Has Fall River doesn't fluoridate their water anymore?
no, they do not.
Do you guys see a big impact with them not fluoridating?
Your questions to who?
Well, to the doctors, I mean, have you seen a big impact with them not fluoridating?
You want to come up here?
Could you please, just so we can hear the whole conversation, or other people? Thank you. Thank you, Jake.
I'm sorry, you're saying as far as Carrie's rates in children from
Right.
Fall River? I am not aware when Fall River defluoridated. The difficult nature of that is it's not going to be year 1, year 2, year 3. It's going to be several years down the road, and that's kind of why in the email that I sent you today, that was one of the things I was taking. Like one of the reasons that we take this very seriously is because the damage that we see is not going to be tomorrow
Right.
or next year. It's going to be 5, 10 years down the road. And then at that point, when we say, okay, yes, these studies are proven that the fluoride levels are safe at 0.7, or they're not. If we decide 10 years from now that, yes, let's start fluoridating water, there's going to be cost to the city. I'm sure there's different permits or whatever DNR stuff you have to do, but also that's going to be a 10-year lag before you see the benefit. So that's kind of why you see us kind of come out and we take this issue seriously. But as far as your question, long answer to a short question, it's kind of difficult as far as seeing children directly from Fall River. I guess I'm not necessarily aware if they're from Fall River. We could look into it. We could definitely try to run a report.
Yeah.
Or if they're just in the Fall River School District, they may be in the country, they may be somewhere else. So
Right.
And we think it was around, we believe it was around 2015 that they stopped.
okay,
So
yeah,
it'd
I don't
be-
know.
It's almost 10 years.
Yeah, almost 10 years then.
I know Waterloo as well has defluoridated their water, and we have a clinic in Waterloo so we could look at data, but that was much more recently. It was like a year ago. So,
Yeah, I mean, I've been here for a while, so I remember that talk
yeah.
when that happened. And I was just curious if you've seen anything from that,
Yeah.
because, yeah, I kind of remembered it been a while.
But like I said, we could definitely look into it and see if we can't, a report or something.
I have one point on that. It's a great question. Is the difficult thing is if you look at all the studies, the number one people that fluoridated water affects are people that don't go to the dentist real much because they can't afford it or don't have the resources to get there. And so it's a little hard for that because of a lot of times we don't see those people, or we see those people on a very limited basis when they have a bad toothache or something like that. So, but I mean, we could definitely look into it and just kind of see. So,
It'd be
Yeah.
kind of helpful.
yeah.
Thank you.
I was just wondering if, not to bother you again, Jake, but costs on containment, any estimates on the buildings that we would need to construct?
I obviously don't have any costs, but each room would have to have ventilation, eye wash station, and eye wash and shower, so chemical shower, lighting, water, and then the whole structure itself. So I'm sure it's probably not cheap. Ventilation's not cheap.
What's the deadline from DNR for containment?
So it's once you have major construction at your facility, whatever they deem major construction. So I know we approved booster pumps this year, so that potentially could be major construction. So it's all based on the project that you open up with the DNR, and they don't tell you until you've submitted your plans, which is basically like too late kind of thing to back out on anything. So they get you that way. But yeah, I guess I don't have a cost for a chemical room.
Have we submitted that project you just spoke about?
We have not. We're gonna wait a little bit into the year and hopefully prices potentially come down, but nothing's gonna ever come down anymore, I don't think, so. Yep.
Jake, while you're up, I have a follow-up question to that. Besides fluoride, how many different chemicals do we treat the water with?
So we had 3 chemicals: chlorine, obviously, for bacteria. We add an orthophosphate to basically keep our lead that's potentially in the system sealed into the piping, so it doesn't flake off and go into your house at large quantities, kind of thing, for the people that do have a lead service. And then we also add the fluoride.
Okay. So is the idea of containment to keep those 3 separate?
So they don't like the fluoride being exposed to the other ones, just because it's a very gassy, because we use liquid chlorine, or liquid fluoride, so it's a very gassy thing. So we have separate ventilation now off of our fluoride tanks, venting to the outside at each water plant, just to take the fumes out of the building. But at plant 2, since it's in a chemical room, but all 3 chemicals are in there, the fluoride has etched like all the windows and everything. So like every year we're basically like sanding it and then buffering and waxing it, kind of, just so you can see through the window again. So it is just a gassy thing.
So the containment issue from the DNR would only be for the fluoride, not for
Correct.
the other chemicals?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
But obviously, if you're going to do one, you might as well do all of them, is kind of my thought. I mean, no point to do half of it when, maybe 5 years down the line, they're going to change their mind again.
Sure.
Because they never know how to make their mind up.
What about the monitoring equipment and the pumping equipment for the other chemicals? Are they all the same as the fluoride pumps? Or
So we've actually upgraded the chlorine and the orthophosphate pumps. The ortho we did in 2022 because we used to add sodium silicates. Now we add orthophosphate due to the DNR. And now, so we got a new pump then for those, and then chlorine, we just installed new chlorine pumps. So those are new, and just basically been kind of waiting for this whole situation to figure out if I want to order new pumps for the fluoride, just so everything's up to date and ready to go.
But as far as like monitoring or applying those other 2 chemicals to the water, is that all done automatically?
Yeah, everything's just through a pump, and it's all based on the flow of the water, and then every time the well turns on, the pumps turn on. We have set points on them, and then we monitor the residuals every morning. And then obviously if something's out of whack, we'll adjust it and then come back like an hour later and check and continually check through the day. But normally, once they're going, they're good, unless they get air bubbles, which is it's chemicals and pumps, so.
Is there technology available to kind of navigate the issue that, you kind of brought up here on the two graphs that we have here, that, the average residual is 0.22 up to, or that's the average, and then the max would be 0.35, and then the minimum residual was 0.14. That varies throughout the day, or whatever. That is there technology that can help us kind of navigate that issue, so we're getting a more.
I guess I'm not sure. I'm sure if you spend hundreds of $1,000s, you could probably get something. But right now, it's just grabbing a sample and then using our fluoride titrates, and we titrate it out and read the results.
Okay. Are there different methods of titration available for that?
Yeah, so we've tried multiple different methods for our liquid fluoride, but this one's the most efficient and the easiest one for the operators, I guess.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jake.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, I have one more question. The charts that you plotted for us for plant 1 and 2, thank you very much. Appreciate the info. Do we ever measure after we've added the fluoride so that we know what level
Yeah, every
we're
day.
at?
Every day.
Okay.
So
this is pre-fluoridation,
correct.
right? Pre-pump?
Correct.
Okay. And do you ever see cause for concern in the data that you read from those after fluoridation?
Yeah, there'll be days that obviously it'll be at like a 0.9, which is above our limit of the DNR.
Tenths, yeah.
Which obviously it's not much, but it's still above. I don't know how many times you can exceed it a month. I guess I've never had that issue, but I'm sure the DNR watches it every single month when I submit my paperwork to them. And if I get too many exceedances, I'm sure they'll let me know and flag me or something.
Okay. Awesome. Thank
Yep.
you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners, or want to ask any questions of anybody who's in attendance?
I have a question. I don't have any children, so how often are they provided a fluoride treatment when they come in for a dental visit? Is it twice a year? Okay, thank you. Automatically?
It's by permission.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Some choose not to.
Okay, thank you.
All right, given all that, what is the will of the commission this evening?
Well, I guess seeing how we really don't have anything really in concrete yet, I don't know how we can really truly make a decision on which way to go. My personal belief.
Amy?
Well, I'd really hope that Jake's raw water monitoring would show that it was more in the 6 to 8 range than the 0.3 range. I should say 0.6 to 0.8 range rather than the 0.3 range. Given that information and what I consider to be the current accepted timeframe recommendations for fluoridation, I would like to see us get new pumps that more accurately can, dose the system properly, and go ahead with, plans to move toward this separate chem room.
I would agree with you. When I saw the raw fluoride draws, I thought they were going to be a little bit higher. I can understand, there's certain spikes in here But to me, this just seems like maybe we haven't kept up with the technology. I would assume there has to be some technology to deal with this because other wells probably have natural occurring fluoride just like we do. And again, I think this has been a successful program for many, many years. We've gotten a lot of correspondence from different people sent to us. And I haven't really been able to find a large amount of credible evidence to make me believe that we've been doing something wrong for 75 years. I think there's a lot of information on the internet right now. I tried to follow some of that stuff, but it didn't turn into information after a while. It seemed like it was opinion. My mother was born in Scotland, and so she, didn't have fluoridated water. And I can tell you just from family members that I have over there, their tooth health is not as good as the average American, and I believe it has a lot to do with fluoridation in the United States. So I feel like this issue was kind of brought up maybe as a budgetary issue before budget time, and I did ask questions during the budget as whether or not we were going to have to worry about those things. But I think pump replacement occurs normally with other chemicals again, so I think for the potential saving of $250, it's not really detrimental to the utility. That's just my opinion. Did someone want, could you please?
So in listening to you guys talk, I mean, obviously the budgetary and the storage is an issue, but the other main concern, I think, is the concentration, the safe limit. So that 0.7 that's established is, already below a certain threshold, because we get fluoride naturally from food and other things that we ingest. So the two, known effects of fluoride that are negative to humans are fluorosis of the teeth. So people that get like white or brown spots in their teeth, and they discovered this way back when they first discovered the benefits of fluoride, that these kids with these brown white teeth were resistant to cavities, but they had ugly teeth. So that it occurs at about 2 milligrams per liter. So we're at 0.7. At 2, that's when they started to see those dark spots. The other one at 4 milligrams per liter is skeletal fluorosis, where people actually incorporate so much fluoride into their bones that they get like achy joints and things like that. So well above what we're seeing in the water at 0.9. It's still well within what we're, I would consider still really safe. If more things come out about the IQ and those levels at 1.5, maybe they will reevaluate and lower it down to 0.5 or something like that. But currently 0.7 still factors in, people ingesting more at home and getting more, so that they're still well below that 2.0 to get the fluorosis, which is that first negative fact, if that helps at all.
Thank you. I have seen the lists of, all the different food items and drinks that contain fluoride, but I think, several of you have made the statement of the fluoride benefits. Those that maybe don't have that food or aren't ingesting that food, they're very young. I do think that this has been a successful public health benefit for many, many years, and I don't think it's a budgetary issue at this point. Jack, did you want to speak?
Just two quick follow-up points. Number one is, this is a definitive study. Even though it's being drafted and withheld for political purposes, it was over 500 studies, 150 human studies, a whole lot of animal studies. This idea that it's not definitive and not well-defined, I think, is wrong. The whole science community that looked at this is telling you it has a detrimental effect on IQ. I'm surprised that the dentist didn't acknowledge that. I didn't make this up. It's a detrimental effect to children's IQ and neurological development. And then the other point that I wanted to make, and I'm probably getting out on thin ice here with a room full of dentists, but fluoride is topical. That's why they put it in your toothpaste. That's why they do a fluoride treatment. You put it on the teeth, to achieve any good out of it. We don't need to take it systemically and have it pumping through our brains and nervous systems and every place else. The application and the benefit is topical. And I'm sure you get a whole lot in the toothpaste. I mean, you've read the warning label on your toothpaste, right? It's scary. You read the warning on the toothpaste container, it makes you sound like they'd ought to take you to an emergency room if you swallow your toothpaste. There is, the idea that it's not decided yet, I think is what I'm objecting to. It's a well-established science that wasn't available 50 or 60 years ago when this was all the rage and they decided to start putting it into water systems. It's a neurotoxic compound with no safe level. That is established now. We should probably take it out of the water, especially if the idea that we have to spend money on our water plant to separate fluoride from the workers because it's so toxic, so that we can continue to put it in the water system. That doesn't make sense to me. If it's that toxic down there to the workers, it's toxic to everybody who's drinking the water. Thank you.
Reagan?
Yeah, thank you for your comments, Jack. I would just like to point out, I think Dr. Notham did speak to the study, and the threshold was 1.5 milligrams per liter. If that is indeed the case, then that's a different threshold. And so I think thresholds and quantities matter in this discussion. So I'm comfortable with our water fluoridation program. I think it's very safe. Thank you, Jake, for the information that, sometimes we do go a little bit over 0.7, but nothing alarming according to the data we have in front of us. We have history to look back on, 75 years of this program. No small piece of information to consider, in my opinion. The cost for storage, always budget, economy, that's always something we should think about up here. I like the point about perhaps maybe improving efficiency in the system, something else we should always consider when we're up here, correct? Effectiveness, efficiency, economy. So I do like that point very much, Sandy. I think we should look to that. With that said, yes, I fully support continuing water fluoridation, perhaps looking to improve the system. The data that Jake provided us also shows inconsistency in the system. So this pump fluoridation coming through really provides that consistency that I think a system, if it's going to be beneficial and cover everybody in the community, we need that consistent application. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
My only thought was on not being definitive, Jack, was it'd be interesting to see if the dentist could get any information from the Fall River kids and to see if there is any difference. I don't know if we have to make a decision right now on this. We've waited, 3-4 months now. I mean, what's a couple more? And you're talking the fluoride down there is highly concentrated, so it probably is a lot more caustic at that stage.
I think the other comment I wanted to mention too, before being on this commission and was on city council, I was the mayor for 4 years. I've always considered Columbus to want to be proactive in things. There are a lot of DNR recommendations that maybe certain other communities don't want the DNR anywhere near them, so they're not going to comply. But we've done a lot of projects that have cost a lot of money in this city for phosphorus reduction. We have a wastewater treatment plant. There's a lot of, stringent programs that we have to comply with, and I don't see any reason to change direction at this point because we have some pump issues. The other chemicals that we have at the plant, the pumps need to be replaced. We need to make sure that chemicals are being applied. I feel like we won a water quality award last year for best tasting water in Wisconsin, and I don't see us deciding to not fluoride any longer a positive step. It seems like we'd be going back 50 years because there's a draft study out there that hasn't been fully vetted or accepted, I guess, by people. As far as the study itself, my son was born and raised in Columbus and has drank fluoridated tap water his whole life, and he's going to be the valedictorian of his class and has the highest ACT score in his class. So I don't think the fluoride has eaten away at his brain at this point. I think there's a lot of information out there on the internet right now, but I just don't see a reason to change direction at this point. And I feel like we should make a decision and just kind of go with it rather than drag this out for another month or two.
I
That's
agree
just my
with that. I
opinion.
think
I
we've got
concur.
information and we've had time, so with all
Yeah, I agree.
due respect and consideration, I'd prefer we vote on the matter.
I agree.
Are there any other questions, or does anyone want to form a motion? We have discussion and potential action on the agenda, so. All right.
I move that we that we agree to continue fluoridation in the Columbus water system, that we plan for appropriately sized pumps, and that we also plan for a separate chemical feed room for each of the water plants.
I'll second.
Michelle, did you? Or are you going to watch the meeting tomorrow to get the?
I can do that too, but I wanted to get
All right.
the most.
There's a motion and a second to, in short, continue fluoridization of the Columbus water. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Do we need a roll call for this, or can this be a voice vote? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Now we can move on to new business item number 1, repairs to the water plant number 2 roof, discussion and approval. The roof discussion started last month. We had 3 bids, and we were asking Jake to kind of follow up with them. There were some emails included in the packet here to see if we could get some more definition from some of the estimates.
So, we sent emails to the 3 companies. The US Roof never responded, the lowest bid one. So that's a great option, I guess. And then the Gardner Company rewrote the bid, or quote, to a March date for expiration. And he stated in his paperwork that that's when prices will probably go up. So that was his reasoning for only putting it to that point. And then the, what was the other one? The Ridge Top. He didn't resubmit anything like I asked. All he said was, because you guys had questions about the rock removal, all he stated was they're gonna pick up the rocks, put them to one side of the building, put a new layer down, and then move them back over. That's all he stated in his email.
So that's going to be a different roof than what Gardner's proposing, correct? Because that
Correct.
doesn't have ballast on it.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know, I guess we didn't really get anything official from Ridgetop, but I thought it was the same type of roof in the original estimate.
It's kind of what I read in
Yeah.
the, I don't know if you guys got the quotes again from the last time. Okay. Michelle, do you have,
Sandy's got a copy of it
do you
here.
have the quotes, the original quotes? from
Oh,
last
that's
time?
right.
No, because that's in my last year's binder.
Sandy's got a copy of it here.
Okay.
Yeah, they both said TPO, something rough. So I'm not sure why they're removing one's company's removing the rocks and the other's not. I know on our new roof on the admin building, they removed the rocks and didn't put anything up, so I think that's normal practice nowadays.
The Ridgetop bid from last month was 107, so that was more expensive than. the
Was there a
Gardner.
difference in fastening too? Wasn't one gonna use fasteners and the other use like
I remember
adhesive?
something about.
You're right.
What was the price of that one again, Mike?
107.
The Ridgetop had a 7-year warranty and the Gardner had a 10-year warranty.
So you have, here's the first
Oh,
quote.
yep.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. Perfect, thanks.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Yep, it's just nice working with the Gardner company because they actually like resubmitted their quote and,
Yeah.
responded within a day. The other ones were obviously no response on one, and then the other one was, we're just gonna move the rocks.
I think they provided fuller information on their whole process too, which I
Exactly.
really appreciate when we're spending significant amounts of
Exactly.
dollars.
Reagan, the one that wasn't going to use fasteners was the U.S. roof bid originally. So, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he got the $48,000 bid, but that's way, I don't.
Yeah.
It just seems out of the park and then just doesn't respond to an email, so.
It seems like the best bid we have right now then would be the Gardner company because we have the best warranty. It's $1,000 less than the only other bid we have.
And we know what we're getting per their own presentation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a detailed estimate. It looks like a legal agreement that we can sign, and we don't really have that from any of the other vendors, so. Do we know how we're gonna fund this, Michelle?
We didn't budget for this, we would have to take it out of the reserve fund. So if that is approved, that, I would ask for that, for the funding to come.
Does that need to be part of the motion or not? Okay.
I would like it to be a thing, that just, to say where the funding's coming from, because it was not budgeted.
Just have, if we take it out of the reserve fund, what status does that leave our reserve fund in?
Look, it's in your packet, if you look at the treasurer's report. So currently in the one, we have two different reserve funds. The one is at 511,000. And then the other reserve fund, that one we can't touch, the depreciation would be 764,000. So we could take it out of either one of those.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I guess I can make a motion to accept the Gardner Company bid for the roof replacement on plant number 2, and the funding should be drawn from reserve funds.
I will second.
Motion and a second to approve the Gardner Company for the Plant 2 roof project, and that the funding comes from the reserve funds. Any discussion on the motion? We'll have to take a roll call on that.
Yep. Curtis?
Aye.
Tone?
Aye.
Beckman?
Aye.
Andler? Rule?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Jake, thanks for following up on all that stuff. You too.
See you tomorrow, Jake.
All right, new business item number 2, repairs to the generator at wastewater treatment plant. We've got Katie up there. Looks like Mike's on for you already.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. In October, we had our routine maintenance service done on all of our generators, both the lift stations and the plant generator. When they did the generator in the plant, they found the block heater was not working properly, along with the battery chargers were not working properly at the facility. So I got the quote from Cummins, who is normally our service provider for the generators, and they gave me a quote of $8,320.77 to do the block heater. They'll have to do replace the coolant connections, thermostat, the oil gauge wasn't working also, and the battery chargers. And so they gave me that quote, and I sought out other quotes. I could only get one other company, which was Lionheart, and they gave me a quote of $10,014.16. So I'm recommending to accept the quote for Cummins, who again is our normal service provider anyway, and redo the repairs for $8,320.77.
How long will this take, Katie? Is this like a day?
Yeah, I think that, I forget how many days they put down. I think it's one day. It takes 2 personnel, I believe, to come and do it. They have to send somebody here. There's travel and all that included and all that. But it was like one day to take it down and repair the whole thing.
Thank you.
Katie, do you know the age of that unit? How old it is?
I think it's as old as a plant.
Really?
So I'm not 100% sure, but so we're talking 1984.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And how often is it inspected or tested as it was done this fall?
Well, we test it monthly.
Okay.
But it's inspected by the company yearly, annually. So, and usually annually there's an issue.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Katie? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to accept the bid from Cummins for $8,320.77.
I'll second. Motion and a second to approve the generator repairs and accept the bid from Cummins Sales and Service in the amount of $8,320.77. Any discussion on the motion? If there's no discussion, we'll have to take a roll call on that one.
Beckman?
Aye.
Andler?
Aye.
Rule?
Aye.
Tone?
Aye.
Curtis?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Let's see. Item number 3 under new business is the hiring process for utility director position. I asked to put this on the agenda this month. Obviously, we've been looking for the new utility director for quite some time. I think I received an email from Mayor Joe a while ago asking if we were going to have a committee or whether we should have the whole commission involved. And I'm fine with whatever the commission wants. I usually tend to want to include the entire governing body if possible. And if we can't all be there, at least everyone's invited to be there as part of the process.
I like that thought. We're a small
Aye.
enough body.
I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, if we get 7 people on the commission, but if only 5 can make it, at least we've got 5 people, so.
Like you said, everybody had opportunity.
Yeah. Michelle, do you have any updates on where things are right now, or just the process? Have we put the position out? Is it out?
The position had been out
Okay.
for a few months.
Okay.
It's still out on a few websites, taken down on a few too, because there was a end date of December 29th, but then the other one I recently saw says until filled. So, yep, in the past, it has been either a committee of the commission or the whole commission. With that structure, the invite of the city administrator and the HR. So, and then if you do have, we'll just, whenever you set up times, we'll have to post them as a special meeting. And then Matt can add to that if he knows more.
I don't know any, excuse me, I don't know any anymore, but thank you, Michelle. I'd strongly encourage that human resources be included. I think they can be a great asset and guide to a commission going through that process. I've seen that throughout my time. So whether you want me or there or not, I'm happy to participate, but I think it's critical to have someone from human resources involved.
Sure. I don't know how we're going to spur, so go ahead, Sandy. I didn't
But
really know.
just one additional question. Do we know if we've had any applicants yet?
I don't know if there are applicants or not. It's not a conversation I've had with Stephanie at this point.
And all I've heard, and that was a while ago, was a few.
My assumption is that the commission would want to see all applicants and help vet them as we kind of go through the process. One suggestion I would have too is if we do get applicants or multiple applicants, just going through the interview process is having HR, but also relevant staff, like some of the partners that we work with, like the city engineer comes to mind that's going to be working with that person, or kind of has a more global thought process, you know, not just focused on the utilities, but how that person's going to interact with other people or other agencies, I think is beneficial too. We did that in the past, I think, when we hired a new city administrator. So don't want the group to be too big, but I think it's good to have some staff members on the other side as well, because they can think of it a little bit differently than we do. So now are we gonna basically sit on the same job description until we get an application, or?
Well, since I don't know how you want to approve the job application, the city council approved it, it was posted. The next step would be to have Stephanie send you the applicants,
Yeah.
and then to decide on when you wanted to meet next to discuss them or go over them.
And is that something that can be done in closed session to review applicants or deliberate on those?
My understanding would be yes.
Okay, so then if we knew we had applicants coming in before the next meeting or something like that, depending upon the timeline, we could put a closed session on there if we have applicants come up then?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, last time we did this, 6 months ago, we kind of went through all the applications and kind of weeded through and tried to pick which ones we wanted to invite to interview.
Sure.
Yeah, it would be nice to know. And I suppose we probably should at least look at these people, because if some of them have applied a month ago, who knows if they're still available.
Correct.
So
Correct.
we should probably move quicker than not. So,
I agree. So I guess let's see.
So you're thinking maybe a future agenda item or before that?
To review applicants?
Yeah.
If we receive them, I think if you can notify me like right away, we'll have to send out an email to see if we can pull together a special meeting.
Okay.
Or if it's a week away from our regular meeting, we put a closed session on there or something, you know, whatever works for the commission, I'm fine with.
Yep, I told Stephanie today I would be in touch with her tomorrow to let her know which way the commission wanted to go. So would you like them all sent to you, or you want her to send copies to everyone?
Of applicants?
Yes.
From a confidentiality standpoint, I don't know what the administrator's opinion would be, but how much do you want to circulate those via email? Is that in?
I mean,
or,
you could print them, I could deliver
or
them.
do we have the
I
meeting
guess,
and
yeah.
have, you know?
I'll just share in other places I've been, best hiring practices to retract all personal information before even internal review. You know, that most of the hiring that I've done over the last 2-3 years, you get blacked out applicants. You don't see their name. You don't see any identifying factors that you would be able to figure out who that individual is. Obviously, where they've worked and the positions they've held, so, good, detectives on the internet can really figure that stuff out, but that's one of the hiring practices. So that's something I'd want to talk to Stephanie a little bit and get some consultation from the attorney as well of whether we're better off doing that in a closed session environment or if they can be shared electronically. So we can, get that information to all of you after we do consultation and figure out the best next step from there.
That sounds good. Yep, I agree.
Would it make any sense for Stephanie to reach out to the applicants and let them know that we're still pursuing or still discussing?
Or ask if they're available.
Yeah, in case anybody wants to let us know now that they're no longer interested. I'm just thinking, is it taking longer than normal, and should we be reaching out to these individuals?
The prior applicants you're talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah.
I don't know what common practice is or what you would.
Have they done
I think, let me talk with Stephanie, and Michelle and I can talk with Stephanie and figure out best course of action, factoring in input from you, and then we can follow up with the commission and go from there. I don't disagree. I think the question is do you want to, depending on how many applicants there are, do you want to identify who you want to interview and then ask them if they remain interested and set up the interviews, or do you want to just blanket reach out to everyone to see if they remain interested? And part of that goes into my having a better understanding of how long of a recruitment window we've had open.
It's been pretty long.
Well, I guess it'd be nice to know if they are truly a candidate, don't want to sound bad, but if they're not available, it seems kind of pointless to waste the time on it. When we're doing that, someone else could come or, go opposite direction too, just with the time wasted.
Yeah. I think we'll look for some recommendations from you and Stephanie just to see what best practice would be then. Yeah. But as far as action tonight, do we need to make a motion just to state, whether we have a committee or commission or taking no action, the commission's going to deal with it?
I can put that the commission's consensus is to invite all commissioners to be involved.
It can also be as simple as the commission provided direction to staff and we'll report back.
Yep.
That's acceptable as well.
Okay, let's do that.
How did you say that?
Just the commission provided direction to staff.
All right, so we don't need to take action on that. It's pretty clear what the intent is there. Can move on to reports then. Michelle?
Just a few things. Electric, they've been updating the electric mapping system, doing the field inventory through Open Point, wiring new electric heaters at Water Plant 1, converting the streetlights to LEDs. We had a few that needed to be converted yet. Inventory, vehicle maintenance, electric meter maintenance. Underground house, they had a service burn off, so they had to replace that service. Job planning for spring and summer electric conversions. For the water department, they're working on non-communicating water modules, which are connected to the water meters, doing vehicle maintenance, job planning and ordering parts for spring and summer projects, water plant maintenance at both water plants, helping with snow removal at all the utilities facilities, assisted wastewater and replacing and reconnecting a sewer lateral, and doing the DNR monthly paperwork. The wastewater, Katie wanted me to let you know that Tony had passed the collection system test, which is awesome. And then in 2023, they had 0 permit violations and will once again qualify for the NACWA Gold Award. So congratulations again to the wastewater department.
Great.
And that is all I had for reports.
Do you have a trophy case down at the plant?
She's gonna have to get one soon.
Empty wall.
All right, any suggestions for future agenda topics? Sandy?
I'm not sure this is so much an agenda topic as maybe a request to report back. The contested, or the case hearing for the rate change is coming up later this month.
Yep, on the
And-
24th at 10 a.m. Yep.
Will we know by our next meeting what the outcome of that
Yes, they will
is?
decide that date.
Okay.
Yep.
That would be helpful to hear back from that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Will we need to take any action on that after they make their decision, or previous action already put everything
Put
in
it in
motion?
motion.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right, I don't have any agenda topics. With that, take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Our next meeting will be Thursday, February 15th,